Now it's your turn to try factoring two expressions. If you've not yet tried both parts of this example, please pause the video, complete this in your workbook, and then return to the video to check your work. In part A, we want to factor 4q squared times the quantity 3q minus 5 plus 5 times the quantity 3q minus 5. The first step in factoring is identifying the greatest common factor. When we look at the first term and the second term of this expression, we should recognize that each piece has a quantity 3q minus 5 as a factor. That makes 3q minus 5 as our greatest common factor. So our first step in factoring is to factor that out. So we'll factor off a 3q minus 5 from both terms. And once we factor the 3q minus 5 from the first term, we will be left with 4q squared. When we factor off the 3q minus 5 from the second term, we will be left with a plus 5, giving us a factored version of quantity 3q minus 5 times the quantity 4q squared plus 5. In part B, we want to factor 5t times the quantity t plus 6 minus the quantity t plus 6. The first step is again recognizing what is common in both terms of this expression. Both terms have a t plus 6 in parentheses, making that our greatest common factor. To factor off t plus 6, we will pull that to the front in its own set of parentheses. So this will factor as the quantity t plus 6 times in another set of parentheses. When we factor the t plus 6 off the first term, we will be left with 5t. And when we factor the t plus 6 off the second term, we have to recognize there is a hidden or an implied 1 in front of those parentheses. So when we factor t plus 6 off the second term, we will be left with a minus 1. This will give us a factored version of quantity t plus 6 times the quantity 5t minus 1.